Chapter 1, Derailleur Components and Linkage. Let's start by making sure we understand the components of a derailleur system and how those components are all linked together. We're going to discuss derailleur system components and linkage, routing of cables, shifting gears by pulling on the cables, and how the shifters wind up and release cable. We have the left shifter and we have the right shifter. My left shifter is connected to the front gears via a cable that runs under this down tube and is connected to the front derailleur. And in a similar fashion, my rear shifter here is connected via this cable here that runs along the down tube to the rear derailleur. This cable guide here guides the rear derailleur cable and the front derailleur cable under the frame of the bike. Every time the cable has to make a turn, it has to go through a piece of housing. So there's housing up here in the front for the front derailleur. Other than that, there's a straight shot and no housing that goes down here via the down tube and under the bike frame and directly to the front derailleur. In the case of the rear derailleur, there's again a loop by the handlebars and then a straight shot of cable down the down tube where there is no housing required. But then the cable has to go through another turn back here in the rear loop of the rear derailleur system. If we turn the bike up on its end, we get a better view of these two cables that run along the down tube of the bike. Now, I don't really need the shifters in order to shift the gears of the bike, because if I pedal like this, by pulling on the cable, I can shift the gears in the rear of the bike and the rear derailleur into any gear I want. Of course, as soon as I let go of the cable, it returns to the small cog. Likewise, I can do the same thing by pulling on the cable with the front derailleur. I can shift that from the small chain ring to the big chain ring by just pulling on the cable. What the shifters do is wind up and release distinct lengths of cable so that you don't have to hold a cable with your fingers as I did a minute ago. We can easily illustrate what happens with a cable by these alligator clips. Here's an alligator clip that I've attached to the rear derailleur cable, and there's another one back here. Watch what happens to the location of those alligator clips as I shift the rear derailleur back and forth. What I'm going to demonstrate to you is how I can wind up cable by shifting this lever here. And as I do that each time, in a minute you'll see the chain move. And then I had this little release lever here, which will release the cable and allow the chain to move back out. I'm starting out here with my rear derailleur in the smallest cog. Watch what happens when I shift inward. Watch the location. You see these alligator clips moving. They're moving toward the front of the bike because every time I shift, I'm winding up a little bit more cable inside the shifter. And then when I want to shift back out, I release distinct increments of cable, and that allows the rear derailleur to move the chain back out. And similarly, in the case of the front derailleur, you're going to see me winding up cable with this shift and releasing cable with this shift, winding up and then releasing. And here, let's look at the front derailleur cable. You have a black alligator clip by comparison. Notice that the chain is on the small chain ring. As I shift the front shifter, I move the bike into the big chain ring. Notice that the alligator clip has moved forward as the cable has been wound up inside the shifter. And as I release the cable, then the alligator clip and the cable move backwards. Now, you've obviously been looking at a bike with integrated shifters, but instead of you had rapid fire shifters or twist grip shifters or even down tube shifters, the linkage and the mechanism would be pretty much the same, and so are the adjustments to follow. Now this is a rapid fire shifter and I've got it upside down, but I think if I click this shifter, you'll see that the cable is winding up inside the shifter. Maybe you can see that. And as I release it, then the cable is released back out. So there's a little pawl mechanism in here which allows the shifter to go back and forth. So I'm shifting in here, and here I'm shifting back out. And if I put my little alligator clip back on the derailleur cable, as I shift, you can see the cable being wound up inside. The alligator clip is moving in, and then as I release the cable, the alligator clip moves back out.